Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give this video a like up. Victor Newman is stirring a whole new pot of trouble on Young and Restless. The only problem? The premise of the plot twist doesn't make a whole lot of sense. There's never been any shortage of things for Victor and Jack to fight about over the years, and there never will be. Which makes it hard to understand why Young and Restless is trying to manufacture conflict by floating a plot point that simply doesn't hold water. In the latest episode, Jack showed up at the ranch after hearing about the Newmans' showdown and shootout with Ian Ward. Purportedly, he wanted to make sure everyone was alright, which is believable given it's Jack we're talking about. But Victor accused him of coming to see Nikki, not getting any satisfaction out of the fight he was trying to pick. The mustache fired off a closing salvo as the abbot was heading out the door. It was designed to get a rise out of his nemesis. And though Jack carried on his way without a big reaction, it did leave him with his guard up, and he wasn't the only one. The decree? That Jack should keep his son Kyle away from his granddaughter, Claire. Victor previously sat Claire down and warned her about the pitfalls of dating Abbott, telling her that at some point she would be forced to choose sides. Of course, he never acknowledged that the only reason she'd ever have to do that is because he refuses to put an end to his relentless rivalry with Jack. When questioned by Victoria and Nikki about interfering in Kyle and Claire's relationship, Victor announced that he didn't like his family members dating from the pool of people he hates. Unfortunately, this makes no sense whatsoever given, well, the entire history of the soap. Yes, Victor has always had a rivalry with Jack, but he himself was romantically involved with Ashley Abbott, and continues to share a deep bond with her to this day. In fact, their daughter Abby is half Newman, half Abbott, as she loves to tell anyone who will listen. Newman's grandson Noah is living abroad with Jack's granddaughter, Allie, and the mustache hasn't said a peep about that. Finally, Victor's other granddaughter Summer has her own love story with Kyle, married him twice, and they share a child together. Which brings us to the most glaring inconsistency here. It wasn't all that long ago he was pushing Summer and Kyle to make up. Of course, circumstances have changed since then. Kyle was useful to Victor at the time, and one could argue that the mustache is more protective of Claire right now than he is of Summer. Hell, everyone is more protective of Claire, who acts like a teenager rather than the trained killer and traumatized adult she is. But Victor's argument still makes no sense, and makes him a giant hypocrite to boot. As we all well know, this plot point is designed not only to create conflict for Victor and Jack, but to launch a Romeo and Juliet type storyline for Kyle and Claire, perhaps in a bid to get more viewers rooting for them. Will it work? That remains to be seen, but Young and Restless fans tend to be resistant to being manipulated, and have already started calling out this plot twist. The part that does ring true is that Victor will jump on any means of yanking Jack's chain to stir the pot with his nemesis. He's looking for a reason to fight with him, and it doesn't have to make sense as long as it gets the job done. Well, this should do it. Victor stood at the edge of the dimly lit bar, swirling the amber liquid in his glass as he watched Kyle and Claire laugh together at their corner table. The sight made his stomach twist. It wasn't jealousy. Not exactly. It was something deeper, something more insidious. He had to stop them. He had to break them apart before it was too late. Kyle and Claire had been inseparable since the moment they met. Their love story was the kind that made people believe in fate. Two souls colliding at the right moment, bound together by an invisible thread. But Victor knew something they didn't. He knew that their love was dangerous. Victor wasn't just an onlooker in their story. He was part of it. Though neither Kyle nor Claire knew it, he had watched them from the shadows, learning their habits, their patterns, their vulnerabilities. He had studied them, not because he wanted to, but because he had no choice. The truth had been laid bare before him, and it was a truth he wished he could ignore. Claire wasn't who she claimed to be, and Kyle, oblivious and hopelessly in love, was walking straight into a trap. Victor had first suspected something was off when he noticed Claire's inconsistencies. She would mention details about her childhood, but when he cross-checked with what little information he could find, the dates didn't match. The names of places she claimed to have lived didn't check out. And then there were the nights she disappeared without explanation, only to return with a vague excuse and a practiced smile. But it wasn't just the small things. It was the way she looked at Kyle, as if she were studying him rather than loving him. It was the way she always seemed to know more than she should. And when Victor dug deeper, he found the worst of it. Claire was not Claire. She was someone else entirely. Victor had always been good at uncovering secrets. It was what had kept him alive for so long. His own past was littered with ghosts, with mistakes he could never erase. But he had vowed never to let history repeat itself, not when it came to Kyle. Kyle was too important. Victor and Kyle had once been close, closer than brothers. They had grown up together, survived together. And then Victor had made a mistake that had cost them everything. Kyle had walked away, built a new life, and found Claire. Victor had let him go, had convinced himself that Kyle was better off without him. But now he saw the danger, and he couldn't stay silent any longer. He had to intervene, even if it meant destroying Kyle's happiness. Claire was part of something bigger, something dangerous. She was connected to the people Victor had spent years running from. The same people who had destroyed his life, the same ones who would do the same to Kyle if given the chance. And Kyle, trusting and unaware, was falling right into their hands. Victor knew he couldn't just tell Kyle the truth. If he did, Kyle would never believe him. Kyle had already written Victor off as a liar, a manipulator, a man incapable of telling the truth. And maybe Kyle wasn't wrong. But this time, the stakes were too high to worry about trust. So Victor started planting seeds of doubt. He made sure Kyle overheard a conversation, one carefully crafted to make him question Claire's past. He orchestrated moments of tension, subtle but effective. He fed Kyle's insecurities, whispered the right words in the right ears, made sure that Kyle started noticing the cracks in Claire's story. Then came the final move, the undeniable proof. Victor had found something Claire had been hiding. A letter, tucked away in a locked drawer, filled with instructions from someone she had been reporting to. The letter spoke of Kyle in cold, calculated terms. He wasn't a lover to Claire. He was a target. Victor didn't deliver the letter himself. He left it where Kyle would find it, knowing that the moment Kyle read those words, everything would change. Kyle confronted Claire the next night, a letter clutched in his shaking hands. His voice cracked as he demanded answers, but Claire, always so composed, simply stared at him, her expression unreadable. Kyle couldn't answer. He had loved her, had trusted her, and now it had all unraveled. Victor watched from a distance as the confrontation played out, his heart pounding. He had won. He had done what needed to be done. Claire left that night, disappearing into the shadows just as mysteriously as she had arrived in Kyle's life, and Kyle, broken and betrayed, turned to the only person he had left. "I hate you," Kyle said, his voice thick with emotion. "But I know you did this to save me." Victor swallowed hard. "Yeah," he said, forcing a smirk. "Something like that." But deep down, he knew the truth. He had saved Kyle, but in doing so, he had destroyed the one thing Kyle had truly loved.